The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Recorded September 15th, 2017. It's the Money Path Podcast with Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. On episode 89, The What and the Why is sponsored by Motive Wave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your 14-day free trial. So let's join Bob and Mike with a casual conversation of news in the markets.
You don't know about Fabulously Sized? It was big breaking Kmart news today.
Really?
They're renaming all their plus sizes Fabulously Sized.
Oh, dear Lord.
Are you Kmart shaming?
No, I'm just like, do we have to rename everything now? Really?
Fabulously Sized.
Fabulously Sized. Oh, boy. You know, I read, stuff that scrolls by on the news feed, and I just like, you seriously? I mean, that's going to turn Kmart around. The problem was they needed a line of clothing called Fabulously Sized instead of plus sized. That's going to make the difference for Kmart. Rush out. Is Kmart still tradable?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't even. Oh, boy, that shows you how out of touch I am with Kmart. Tesla's still tradable. Came within $1 of our profit target or something for the double bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great. Yeah.
Yeah. Tesla was a very active stock this morning.
Tesla was very active yesterday because they announced that on October 26th, they're going to be showing off their new semi-truck.
Yeah, that was all over the news. Elon said this thing has to be seen to believed. Down $1.82 right now, though, right?
It's down from yesterday's close. It gapped down.
Tesla has an above-average number of tweets right now, even for Tesla.
Well, you know what's funny is, guess when they release earnings next?
When?
The 25th. And their big truck preview is the 26th.
Wow.
So you think that's timed?
Tesla's options implied movement is 3.19% a day.
Wow. So Tesla, what else has? It looks like Snap's found a happy place for the time being. Snapchat has been trading.
Is it at zero?
No, it's between roughly 1450 to 1550. It's found its happy place for its pricing of the stock. It's now just moving sideways in a nice horizontal channel. We haven't talked about that. Blue Apron actually rallied back from its lows 20%. Right now it's trading at 6 from its lows at 5. Wow, that's 20% move in Blue Apron.
Amazon hasn't moved fast enough with their food service. That's why they're rebounding. It's so stupid.
Wait, what was that?
Moved fast. Amazon hasn't moved fast enough for the market in destroying Blue Apron. That's what they're rebounding on.
So it's not as sucky as it seems.
That's exactly correct. It's not as sucky as we thought it was.
It doesn't suck as bad, so we're rallying. Oh, boy. Well, that ties in nicely with, what's this from you, Stafford? Star Wars scrapes the bottom of the barrel to hire a new director?
Yes, Star Wars, since it was sold, George Lucas sold it. Since it's been sold, it's had more directors that have been fired than have actually worked on the new movies for the new company. But they did find a new director for the one they just lost for the Star Wars Episode 9. I've never heard of this director. I don't know what he's done, but they had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find a new director.
Isn't that just, disgraceful? I mean, this is Star Wars.
Yeah, well, Star Wars is broken. So it
Yeah,
just
clearly.
feeds into my thesis. And to move on to Star Wars is broken, let's move on to Star Trek is broken. With The Orville on Fox, had a discovery of success by hitting 8.6 million viewers for their classic Star Trek flavored debut.
Okay, so did anybody watch that?
I did.
I did.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
good.
think Seth MacFarlane is a friggin' genius. I think he's the funniest man on the planet right now, and I've been dying to watch it.
The twist at the end made it great. Right at the
I've been
end.
dying to watch it.
Oh, the humor I was worried to be like his other shows, which I'm not a fan of, but he really has the humor right, where he doesn't make fun of the technology or the future. It's just interpersonal relationship humor, which is all in bounds. Yeah. So there are no reviews on this on YouTube, very few, which shows that this is going to be a groundswell. And the new Star Trek Discovery show that's coming out is going to be a complete flop, I predict.
So let me get this straight then. It's not necessarily like this is an interpersonal relationships comedy that could be shot anywhere, just happens to be shot on a ship.
That's right.
I mean, it's shot in space, so to speak.
We're not making fun of the Star Trek flavor. We're making fun of the relationships between people. It has high respect for the Star Trek flavor that's in the show, and that was my concern.
I know he was a fan.
Oh,
MacFarlane was a Star Trek fan.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
As soon as I heard the name The Orville, I'm like, oh, they are totally making fun of it.
And no transporters, it looks like. They have to all use shuttlecrafts.
Wow. That's cool. I'm gonna watch episode 1.
Yes, it's worth watching.
Yeah.
So that's the hot garbage Hollywood update.
Well, I didn't know we had a hot garbage Hollywood update section.
I like that segment.
There's Star Wars is broken and Star Trek is broken in the same segment. It gets a hot garbage Hollywood rating.
Someone keep me updated when Patriot comes back on Amazon. I got to look that up. That was such a good show.
Yeah, we've now turned into film and movie review.
It's all right. Just buy Amazon and don't worry about it. Everything else is film and movies. Sold on Amazon.
Oh, boy. So, well, I don't know where to put
Can you guys tell me, because I didn't see it, Apple had their product launch.
Yeah.
So this is it's going to be a heavy Stafford show with Mike being the sidekick.
They released a pillow so you could fall asleep during the keynote presentation.
They're not as fun as they used to be, huh?
The Apple Pillow?
Yeah,
Are you more interested in the developers conferences or the new product conferences?
They're all the same. They don't care about developers or cool hardware. They just care about emojis that look like poop. That's all they care about.
Yeah, they had dancing poop, didn't they?
Oh my gosh, what is wrong with these people? That was half the thing, is talking about how much they put poop on their face. They've got problems.
My favorite moment of the whole thing was when he picked up the new iPhone 10 or X or whatever. He picks up the first one to unlock it with his face, and it's like, it wouldn't unlock. He's like, go to backup.
It wouldn't work?
No, the first one he picked up, it was like locked him out. It's like, we don't recognize you. Punch in your passcode. He's like, oh, go to backup. Grabs the other phone.
Well, let me ask you, is there a difference between the iPhone 8 and the iPhone X? Are those different products?
Yes.
Okay, which is better, which is different? Because I didn't see any of this, so I'm leaning on you two guys.
The iPhone 8 will not scan your face and put it into a government database.
Please leave that in the show.
Oh, I'm telling you the truth. Yeah. That's the difference. The iPhone 10 will scan everybody's face walking past it and put it into a centralized database.
Oh, this place just gets scarier every day. What?
It's Minority Report.
What about the Apple Watch that doesn't need a phone?
Now they have. It has a built-in SIM card, so the new Apple Watches, you can essentially talk to your watch, and it's like a phone.
So does it have a different phone number? Do we know that?
It has the same phone number, I guess, as your iPhone's going to have. But
it'll be similar to like your iPad ringing at home or your phone ringing at home, all with the same number.
But if you're like on your jog with your 40 million tunes streaming from your watch, you can answer calls while you're jogging in the park.
Supposedly, it's just $10 to add it to your current cell service.
Yeah. So you have to pay $10 a month to get phone calls on your watch. So, and the iPhone 8 was just, it's like it's like the next refresh of the 7. So, with wireless charging and I don't know what else they did, wireless charging and some minor upgrades.
No,
Faster processor.
The CPU is incredibly fast.
Faster processor.
It's as fast as a Macintosh.
Come on,
Great.
right?
Maybe they should focus more on the computers.
Yeah, there's talk that there's going to be a multi-core Apple-chipped Macintosh that leaves Intel, but it's going to be a long while for that.
That's way up. That'll be how many events from now? How many more dancing emojis will we have to have?
Ugh.
Well, we have to endure.
Yeah.
How many more dancing emojis do we have to endure?
I almost thought that Apple was spoofing itself with some of these.
Seriously?
Remember that one person who came out wearing that pink doily, Mike? That coat is like $9,000.
I don't even know what.
How's that for snubbing that in the faces of the common person?
Oh boy, here we go.
So we're not talking about a real $1,000 phone, right?
What do you mean?
Because people are going to get on payment plans and they're going to go ahead and get the phone. I mean, payment plan, $10 a month, discounted by Verizon, all that kind of stuff.
I don't think it'll be $10
Nobody's going to the store, but nobody's going to the store and whipping out $1,000 plus tax and leaving with
Most
a phone,
people lease their iPhones these days from Apple. So they'll just switch it.
So in that click,
is the lease rate going to go up on the new one?
Nope, it'll probably stay the same.
So the 8 will be a cheaper lease rate?
The 10 won't come out till February, mid-February is my guess.
I thought it was out in November.
Yeah, you won't be able to get one of those. Never.
Well, how can I have my face in the database then sooner than February?
Hang out at the Apple store and it will scan you.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
What's according to Bank of America, what's the most crowded trade right now?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. You think it's still as crowded?
It's less crowded than it was.
We'll get to that. But what's number 2 was long NASDAQ. And the number 3 was short U.S. dollars.
You know what this little survey tells you? Try and figure out the most crowded trade before it gets crowded, because they do really well.
Yeah, they do well until...
Right. Until they don't.
Well, Bitcoin, it was funny. We'll get to the whole crypto segment, but we put out that video last night with the range, the bottom of the rotation zone on the weekly Bitcoin US dollar chart was right around 3,000. The exact low for this week so far, 2980.
There you go.
And we talked about it could go all the way down to 3,000 in our videos last week even.
You know what drives me crazy? So I saw an article this morning where the reporter, the author of the article, whatever you want to call him, basically said that most technical analysts are saying that support is at the 100-day moving average of 28 something or other, right? And I remember thinking, who are they talking to? Because while it is accurate, and if you watch our videos on YouTube, you know this, it is accurate, the moving averages, and the more common ones, which Mike lists off, one of those being 100, will provide a measure of support. But the fact that they're claiming most technical analysts are saying this, no, they're not. Because if you're a technical analyst, it's so much more complicated than probably the moving average is where it's going. It's just such a lazy effort on the part of these reporters to put this stuff. When they say technical analysts are saying this. Having known a few reporters in my illustrious, famous career, they generally ask one person.
And then they extrapolate.
And then they extrapolate and say technical analysts are saying, because they're not allowed to say this is support. They have to say that someone else is saying it. Right? So they'll go, traders tell me, and it's just one trader that told them. It's not like they run out and get a consensus. Mike put a slide in one of our videos, our trendline video, where Mike had gone out and surveyed a bunch of traders and asked them all to draw trend lines. And he's got about 15 trend lines on that chart. He didn't say most traders draw a trend line like this and ask me. There was like 15 guys on it.
Oh, that was our secret, Bob. I just asked you, and you just drew 15 different trend lines.
That is also free on the YouTube channel. But it just is so lazy when they do that. It's so lazy. And I hope everybody understands the lack of effort that's put into that writing.
Oh, they put on the simple moving average, because I was like, I put on the 100 exponential, and
see, they didn't ask you.
See, the moving averages, this is what people don't know. There's the simple, there's the exponential, there's the weighted, there's the adaptive, there's the Hull, there's the
displaced.
Yeah, that's the one that sort of, it was offended by fabulous size stuff, so it got displaced.
There's the awesome moving average.
Yes,
Williams.
The awesome moving average. Hold on, let me put on the simple. I just want to see where it, because I don't normally, I'll glance at it, but it's not one of my go-to moving averages because I'm not one of the in crowd of the technical analysis people, obviously, so people can.
Yes, Mike would not make it as an unknown source.
Wait.
What?
Now this, the 100-day simple moving average comes in at 3,200.
But
is that what you said?
No, I thought it was 28 something, but it might be a different one.
On the daily chart, it comes in at 3,200 on my Bitcoin US dollar chart.
I could find the article, but I don't have it in front of me.
So actually, our 62.5% GAN level and the 21 period exponential moving average on the weekly called the low so far. So there you go. We should have bought the bottom tick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, again, I'm saying that, like, we are real technical analysts. We are real price action traders. And if somebody were to come and ask us, well, what's support? We'd be like, well, it's a little more complicated than that. If it gets through this level, it'll go here. This is stronger support than that. But if it doesn't get through this, it's not going to go there. It'll probably rebound to here. It's just not like, the moving average is support. And you always see this.
That is the support.
You always see this on one of the channels that I'm on. So I'll probably just leave them unnamed, but you can figure it out. Where they're saying, well, this is, the technicians have taken over today. And they're all looking at this. It's like, you don't talk to any of them.
The technicians have taken over? Is it like Rise of the Machines? The technicians.
When they have a fundamental opinion on a stock or a commodity or something, and they're wrong, they'll say, well, this is a technical move. That's what they'll say. Well, this is all technical trading you're seeing here. There's no real reason to sell the stock.
Don't listen to those lab coats and clipboard people.
Exactly. Dude, you hear that all the time. They're like, well, this move is purely technical. We went through the level, and that pushed some other technicians in to buy it. Well, what put it through the level? Like,
so what, all the fundamental people just took the day off?
Well, that's exactly it. Technical people don't push things through a level to try and trigger a technical trade. That's the antithesis of what a technician does. We don't want to do that. We react to what happens. That's why when people on our channel will say something like, where's it going? My answer is always a very sarcastic, I don't really care where it's going. I just want to know what I'm doing when it goes there. Goes where? Wherever it goes.
There are no feels in technical analysis.
Nope, we do not do feel. We look at it and say, if it goes here, I'm doing X. If it then goes here, I'm doing Y.
If it closes below this trend line, here's our target.
Yep, that's it.
But then I like the people who said, why? Why?
Because the math and the probabilities say so. We don't say so.
But what?
We don't say so.
I need to know why, Bob.
I know.
That's my favorite. Every morning I get a brief in my inbox, and they say things like, the S&P futures are 1 to 2 points lower in trading based off of, and it's a whole load of crap every morning. It's like, really?
Sometimes you'll see crude oil is higher on renewed bullishness. That's like saying my food is hot based off of the heat in it.
My food's hot because it's in the oven.
Because it's hotter. It's not even because it's in the oven. The oven would be the reason for it. This would be my food is hot because it's hotter. It's just like my food is hotter than before because it's hotter than before. When they're like, it's up on renewed post. That's why these guys love. I'm going to tell anyone listening right now the clue to whether you know if someone is good at their job or bad at their job in the scope of analysis. If they use risk on and risk off as a reason for things happening, they have no clue what they're doing. No clue. Well, why are things up today? Well, we're back to a risk on mode. Risk on, the pure definition, the way they use risk on is the market's up. So we're up because it's up, is what they're saying when they say risk on.
Well, today then was risk off because S&P futures were lower, down 3 to 4 points because North Korea fired a second missile over Japan within a month. That was the briefing.
So the place where you would see the effect the most would be in the yen, and the dollar yen unwound the initial spike, sell off of yen's rally of dollar, after the missile in 3 minutes. The initial spike of dollar yen after the missile was fired was unwound in 3 minutes. So the effect of these missiles is smaller and smaller. So I'm going to maintain, even though we don't care about why, that it's not because of the missile today. It's a combination of things. Because the place where it would be affected the most recovered in 3 minutes.
That was a very long 3 minutes, though, if you were watching.
It was longer for me to explain it than it was to say 3 minutes.
Well, you brought up people who aren't good at their jobs. You want to know who else aren't good at their jobs?
The directors of Star Wars?
No.
Oh, sorry.
We established that.
Equifax.
Yeah, they are not good at their jobs.
Have you been following the unfolding of this story?
Bit by bit.
So
It's a disgrace.
They didn't patch a known major flaw in the Apache struts vulnerability. They didn't patch it for over 2 months. Oops. So that was one thing that came out. Then there was a whole big flap about, because if you went to check your information and sign up for their free monitoring service, initially in the terms and conditions, which they've subsequently had to remove because of the massive outcry, they had, if you sign up for our free service that we're offering because you were hacked, you just waive your rights to a class action lawsuit against us.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was in the initial terms and conditions. Like, you can't sue us because we exposed your data, and because now we're giving you a free service to try to
Fix
make
it.
sure. Yes. So that was subsequently removed because of a major outcry. What's even worse, it came out yesterday or the day before that they had to pull their systems in Argentina offline because somebody discovered the login to one of their systems that was available over the web. Their username and password combination was admin.
Brilliant.
Are you kidding me?
No.
With a company that large and they're using Apache, an open source web server, is the first flag that there's concern.
Especially what they do, right?
Yeah, but how do you leave a system?
Company. This is not a company that ships, cookies to Starbucks. This is a privacy company.
And they use a free web server. Brilliant.
I'm not so worried about that. I mean, you can beef up Apache pretty good, but when you leave who's running their IT staff? When you leave the username and password admin on a system that's accessible over the internet, you're as you said, you're not selling underwear. You are literally.
I actually think I know who is running their IT, and I think I gave him a sandwich on Adams this morning as I was walking. He's now without a job and without a home.
This is just ridiculous. And so the FTC came out. They're investigating the Equifax breach. I think this is just atrocious. And we're sorry. Please don't be mad at us. Close them down.
I mean, that should have been the number one job that Equifax had.
Yep.
It's protecting that data.
Yep. And again, what's going to happen in this unraveling is, remember, just like with Wells Fargo, there's never one cockroach because we've already discovered 2 of them. They were hacked at something they didn't patch on a known vulnerability for 2 months. And then you're putting out systems with admin passwords. I guarantee those aren't the only 2 instances of fatal security flaws in their systems.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be systematic. Okay?
It's like a Wi-Fi router you buy at Best Buy. The login is admin, the password is admin.
Wow.
It's just dumbfounding to me, so it'll be interesting.
I think they tried reverse securityology by making it so easy that they would never guess what it was.
But
or did they buy it at Best Buy and just never changed it?
It didn't tell me in the instructions I should change it. I don't know.
I definitely gave him a sandwich this morning.
Yes, that's a stock.
You ever see that documentary, Terms and Condition May Apply?
So, yeah. Are you interested in buying any Equifax?
No, I'm not. You ever seen that documentary, Terms and Conditions May Apply?
Yes.
That is the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yep. Yeah, that's a interesting one. Wow, Equifax now. Yeah. Yesterday's lows was 89.59. Today trading 92.18, down from its most recent highs back in July of 147.
Wow.
Ouch. I'm looking back to see. Wow, this takes it back to levels it was last trading at in March of 15.
This is good stuff, and it reminds me of a classic line from Trading Places. If any of you are interested in trading and haven't seen Trading Places, you're just completely failing in the curriculum of the Bob and Mike and Stafford School of Becoming Traders. You have to see Trading Places. And the line is, seems to me the best way to hurt rich people is by turning them into poor people. So the CEO and all the executives who own Equifax stock should be forced to hold it till they die. Didn't they? Did they come after any of those guys yet for selling the stock before they announced it?
Nope, not yet.
There's what you want to have outrage about. After all this is settled, is if none of those guys get in trouble.
Yeah, that would be bad. What else do we have? Another stock. Oh, Amazon back headed higher again. It's now widens its retail footprint. We already saw their devices, the CIA listening devices that Stafford won't have in his house, but you can now find them in Kohl's. Kohl's is doing a partnership with Amazon to sell Amazon hardware. The department store chain plans to open 1,000 square foot areas in 10 of its locations dedicated to the devices. The store-in-store concept is called the Amazon Smart Home Experience. They must be taking lessons from Apple with naming things.
They're selling Fire tablets?
They're selling anything, Echo speakers, Fire tablets, anything hardware.
Fire tablets are still used for anything except starting a fire in your fireplace?
I don't know. I mean, if they're cheap enough, they could be some kind of device you put a single app on.
The future will be American households living in poverty, but they'll have their government-supplied television and Echo listening receiving device. That will be the future of America. Or how about this? We make a little cart and put Echoes on a cart, and then the Echoes themselves can go to the store. And we can keep humans out of it completely, and they can talk to each other.
How do you feel about Robo-Race?
Cut all that out.
I love it. Leave it in. How do you feel about Robo-Race?
What's Robo-Race?
Formula One with no drivers.
Oh.
I'm all for it.
I am too.
That's fine.
Yeah. One good thing about Robo-Race is that they're saying we're not going to put that they need to be 2 separate sports. We're not going to mix robo drivers with regular drivers because people want to see drivers face off against each other. This is a whole nother sport.
Yeah, Robo-Race will be a crash race.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that is. I didn't know about that.
That's very cool. We'll cover it in next week's show.
I just watched.
We'll do a Robo-Race segment next week.
I just watch on the Science Channel all the robot arena fighting stuff. That's what I watch.
Do you watch that stuff?
Oh, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the inaugural robo race did end up in a big flaming mess. Although the winning car, the Dev Bolt 1, as it was going around its last lap, almost ran over a dog.
What?
It was in Buenos Aires. There's a picture.
What do I search for this?
Guys.
Robo
race. Yeah.
Robo.
It was in Buenos Aires in February, and literally they show a dog running toward the car in the middle of the track. It's Buenos Aires, it's Argentina. There's all these
dogs.
Yeah, stray dogs running around, and one of them made his way onto the track.
Why haven't I watched this robo race thing?
There's a picture that says, the Dev Bolt 1 managed to avoid running over a dog.
Where do you watch this? Do you just stream it online, or?
Yeah, they're on YouTube.
Oh, okay. How am I in the dark?
YouTube channel. You look up Pat Trading Partners YouTube channel, and then after watching several videos, you type in Robo Race. It'll pop up.
All right, that's a cool looking car.
They are cool, right?
I'm waiting
the futuristic ones are really
season
cool.
2 where they put machine guns on these vehicles.
That's what's it's gonna turn into that, right?
Yeah, it will.
Stafford, if your prediction is going to come true, there has to be a modern Coliseum with battles to keep us occupied.
It's got to happen.
Mm-hmm. Keep it going like Rome.
That's right.
Well, when that happens, we can put that in the cool tech and drone robot uprising segment. But until then, what's a big bummer?
What?
In the state where anything goes, California, they've now decided you can't have drone delivery of your cannabis.
I'm processing that. Go ahead.
So you can't have drone delivered weed. You can have legal weed, but
substance.
You cannot. They've made their ruling. The California Bureau of Cannabis Control recently declared that weed deliveries cannot be made by autonomous vehicles. So you can't have a self-driving Tesla do it either. So that includes UAVs and unmanned self-driving cars. So transportation may not be done by aircraft, watercraft, rail, drones, human-powered vehicles, or unmanned vehicles.
Is that because of some existing regulations that it runs afoul of?
I don't. It's
like some existing law, because it seems to me like you would want autonomous delivery of the mind-altering vehicle products.
No,
like make it illegal to get a pizza, but cannabis and liquor, it should be autonomous.
So deliveries may be made only in person by enclosed motor vehicle. Cannabis goods may not be visible to the public during deliveries. Cannabis goods may not be left in an unattended motor vehicle unless the vehicle has an active alarm system. Vehicles used for delivery must have a dedicated active GPS device that enables the dispensary to identify the geographic location of the vehicle during delivery.
Wow.
So I guess you could deliver it by Uber.
Yeah, I guess. I'm just saying, I don't want my cannabis users or my drinkers to be driving to get their stuff.
Well, so what's going on in the crude market real quick, Bob?
Bullish tone to crude oil.
Why is it up?
I'm fundamentally bold. Why is it up? Because it's up. Well, because we're risk on in crude oil.
Okay.
No, there's for the first time in a while, like I have a bullish tone to crude oil. I have a bullish sort of take on crude oil, and a lot of it has to do with the IEA report that came out this week. Earlier this week, IEA is the International Energy Administration, which is based in Paris, or agency rather, which is based in Paris. It's a global agency, not to be confused with the EIA, which is the Energy Information Administration based in Washington. They came out with a report this week showing increased demand. And this is the third time that they've bumped up demand estimates. So now we're at about 300,000 barrels a day bumped up in demand estimates for this year, and about 400,000 to 500,000 barrels a day, 400,000 to 500,000 barrels a day for 2018. So demand pumping up. There's also signs that you combine the sort of lowered U.S. production. U.S. production is 200,000 barrels lower than their last estimate. So it's coming from a lower base. So U.S. production is down versus what they thought it would be. Still up overall, but down versus what they thought it would be. And the disruptions that we saw shut down about 200,000 more out of the Eagle Ford Shale. and some of the rigs that were in the Gulf, traditional rigs that were in the Gulf of Mexico. So we have a little bit less supply in there. We had the first cut in Saudi Arabian production in a while. Even though the OPEC compliance level's down to like 82%, they still cut their production by about 400,000 barrels. So global production is down about 720,000. Demand estimates are up. Now, you combine all that with what's going on with refineries. The refinery shutdown took refinery utilization, or run, which is also known as run rates, from about 95% to about 77.9%. This past EIA number that comes out every Wednesday out of the U.S. showed the refinery utilization actually dropped 0.2%. It didn't increase, which tells you refineries are coming back online more slowly. So you would think that would be bearish for crude because they wouldn't be pulling supplies out of stock and supplies would rise, and they did rise. But the refined product numbers dropped dramatically because people are actually able to get to the refined product now. So when they all get tooled back up, which they will be drawing crude oil out at a 95% rate, well past when they normally have dropped their utilization rates because the summer driving season's over. So refineries don't usually run at 94, 95% in the winter because there's less driving, there's less demand. They're going to be running at that rate. So they're actually going to be pulling crude out at a time when demand for crude is up and supply is down. So there's finally probably a short to medium term sort of a bullish undertone to the crude market. And I don't know, are we up today? I can't see it from where I'm at right now. But
today's one big doji.
Is it? So that puts us at 8 of the last 10 days higher, I believe. Today would have been 9 of 11 with a higher close.
8 of the last 10, really?
Today. I think so.
1, 2, 3. Well, it closed down 2 days. So
right, 2 days out of those 10.
Yeah, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was 8 out of 10 yesterday. Higher closes
right,
today.
Correct.
All right.
So if it's a higher close today, it'd be 9 of 11, which is what I thought it was. So pretty dramatic. I mean, that's pretty dramatic. We're not up above any levels that Mike would alert you to yet, I don't think. I think, Mike, you were looking at just under $53.
I was looking at...
Go ahead.
Well, for my next thing, it had to get above 50.22 before I got more so bullish.
More fabulously sized.
So, yeah, that's crude oil.
So that's crude oil, which we won't need any longer because everything's going electric and self-driving cars. They're going to be electric and self-driving, like Mercedes-Benz plans electric versions of all its models by 2022. Every single one of its cars will have an electric version.
Why did they do
all
that?
All electric version or no?
I don't know if they'll be all electric, but they'll at least have electric aspects.
2022
I imagine
is not as far off as it used to sound, is it?
No.
It's only 4 years away.
Wow. No, it's still 5 technically, Bob. 4.5.
4.5, sure.
I mean, we got to be accurate on this show. This is cool. There's a new far infrared sensor from Israeli company Atasky. This is something to watch out for to help. This is for level 3, 4, and 5 autonomy. This solution is to offer a far infrared sensor camera with built-in machine learning software for processing the results. It's called the Viper, and it works by passively collecting these far infrared signals sent out as heat by warm objects, including other cars and humans. Its range means it can pick up signals from as many as a few hundred meters away, allowing it to detect pedestrians earlier than other sensors and work in concert with different tech, including LiDAR and traditional cameras, to verify that pedestrians are in fact pedestrians. So and it's got that machine learning built in. So there's Rise of the Robots again. It's going to learn enough to take over your whole car.
I moderated a panel yesterday at the NIBA conference on AI and big data. And it cracked me up. Big data always, to me, the words big data reminded me of the word synergy in the early 2000s, where it was just a word people thought they needed to use in meetings. Yeah, we're going to explore the synergies. Now they all go into meetings and are like, we're going to take advantage of big data. But listening to some of these experts on the panel talk about the speed of AI, and one of the questions that I asked was, is it moving as fast as we think it is, slower than we think it is? He goes, much faster than you think it is. He goes, much, much faster than you think it is. He said, all risk analytics will be AI within 2 years in investing.
In fact, the new Apple iPhone 8 and the upcoming iPhone 10 has their new chip, which has a piece of that chip for neural network machine learning. So Apple has built in an artificial intelligence that can learn inside their new CPU chip for the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10. So it's getting embedded into chips now.
Well, say Elon Musk is anti-AI.
He won't have an iPhone then.
Probably not.
They should have beefed up the AI on their driving wheel censoring of when people are holding on to. You know, the NTSB, we talked about that months ago, that crash where the Tesla hit the truck.
Yep.
And the guy died. They finally released their final hearing conclusion. Quote, Tesla allowed the system to be used beyond the capabilities of which it was designed. It didn't actually detect that the guy's hands were off the wheel for most of the time, and it should have disabled itself. So it was sort of like your capabilities, you got to rein these back in a bit. So that was the final thing on Tesla for that ongoing saga. But then their vice president of business development resigned this week. So that's our Tesla move, and we already talked about it. It came within $1 of our double bottom target so far. Maybe you could. Oh wait, where is it? I gotta get it up. Tesla update. This is why I don't focus on the why, because it's a stock I'd never trade long. But, you got to follow the patterns, don't we?
We follow the patterns.
We follow the patterns. Other interesting self-driving car news. GM and Cruise announced the first mass production self-driving car. This is going to be on the Bolt platform. Today, we're announcing the first production design of a self-driving car that can be built at massive scale. And more importantly, these vehicles can operate without a driver.
Wow.
So that's GM coming out with that news. I'm
getting the Mission E.
This, what?
I'm getting the Mission E.
Isn't that cool? The Mission E.
So cool.
Porsche. Priced around $85,000 in 2019. 80% charge takes 15 minutes.
That's just spectacular.
A great looking car. 250 miles of range from a 15-minute charge.
It's so funny. When the Panamera came out, everyone hated it because it just looked like a stretch 911. And now you're telling me that the Mission E looks good? It's just the Panamera. It's terrible looking. That's a joke.
I like it.
I like the Panamera. I know. I like the Panamera. I liked it when it came out because it reminded me more of the 928 than a stretch 911, personally. Mm-hmm. I thought it looked like a stretch 928.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just impressed where, a lot of this, the batteries of like the whole thing, 250 miles range from a 15-minute charge. And it's to 2020 model year, but it'll be available in 2019. So that's a year and a half away.
Is that like 440 is the power, the wattage? It's not 220. It's higher, right? To charge that quick?
It's higher.
Well, it's also, they're using a lot new there's some really interesting stuff in battery tech now coming out, so it's a combination in the power to charge and the technology behind it.
No offense, Elon, but that's who I want to buy my all-electric car from, is somebody like Porsche.
Yeah, I agree. But, we'll have to see.
I'll buy my plane ticket to Mars from Elon. Which, by the way, he said one of his main motivations of trying to get to Mars is so that humans have a place to bolt to when the machines take over.
Oh, Elon. Or he might, when people uncover some of the shenanigans behind their non-GAAP earnings, he might have to flee to Mars.
Who is going to take over the world first, the CIA or the machines?
Stafford?
The machines have a chance. They have to take it from the CIA.
There you have it.
Is an Amazon Echo going to initiate it, though?
Oh
my God, the machine being run by Amazon, by CIA.
The machines versus the machines.
I have this image now of a guy dressed like freaking Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black fighting an Amazon Echo.
The road warrior will be people driving around in their Mission E Porsches, all electric, fighting the machines.
How does that fit in with the apocalyptic Mad Max stuff if we're all in electric cars?
Right?
Oh,
They didn't think of that.
Ruined Mad Max for me. So we now have major crypto news this week.
Is it good news?
Yes, we do.
Well,
Is it fabulously sized? Fabulously.
Well, first of all, Bob, and you talked about this on the YouTube videos. I think you should recap it here because we have Jamie Dimon. We have Gandalf, self-proclaimed Gandalf, and you could talk about him, and you could talk about Mohammed El-Arian.
Let's start with Gandalf.
El-Arian. I cannot pronounce names, so just
Let's start with Gandalf. For those of you that are crypto listeners, you may not have had a lot of exposure to traditional markets. Marko Kanalovic is a quant analyst at J.P. Morgan, and he has self-nicknamed himself Gandalf, the wizard of quantitative analysis and markets. So everybody refers to him as Gandalf.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
Does he use the 100-day moving average?
I don't. Well, you'd have to ask that reporter, but I guess since he's an analyst, she can say yes.
But I want to know if Gandalf, because he's like the Gandalf of technical analysis. I want to know what he uses.
Well, I'm sure he uses it because that reporter said analysts use it.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right.
Yeah, so he calls himself Gandalf, and he likened cryptocurrencies to a Ponzi scheme. And the reason I start with this one is I think it's the most irresponsible of the things that are being said, because while the comparison that he makes to a Ponzi scheme they're hard to dispute, it is in a completely different, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a completely different effort. It's a completely different scenario as to why Bitcoin was created in the first place. And so a Ponzi scheme starts with the intent to deceive, right? And everybody knows what a Ponzi scheme is, but in case you don't, you get money from one person, then you take that money, you pay 2 more people when they invest, and then you take their money and you pay 3 more people, and you keep a little for yourself each time. And down the road, it all blows up because you run out of investors and you can't pay the old investors. So here is the flaw, I think, in Gandalf's assessment of it being a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme. He claims that, somebody remind me of how you say the guy's name who created Bitcoin. Satoshi. That's okay. So that's okay. Satoshi's enough. He said the person or persons known as Satoshi. Why can't I pronounce this week? Satoshi. Whatever. The person or persons known as that mined themselves the first 10 or 11 million Bitcoins and then opened it up for everyone else to mine. And so as the supply and the idea is that it becomes more and more expensive to mine it, and eventually you can't mine anymore because the cost to mine it is not worth the result. So it ends up having a limited supply. He said that's exactly like a Ponzi scheme. Eventually you cannot pay the later people in. But the difference is that there is no actual transmittable mechanism for the end game of the Ponzi scheme. In other words, when you get to a point where you can no longer pay the people because you can't get more investors, it all blows up. When you get to where there are no more Bitcoin, somebody still wants a Bitcoin in exchange for their good or service. So it's not a Ponzi scheme. It's silly to say it's a Ponzi scheme because it kind of takes away the point of Bitcoin in the first place being a currency. And at the end of the day, we can say, so we get to Jamie Dimon, where Jamie Dimon says, Bitcoin's a fraud. Cryptocurrencies are a fraud. He said, yeah, my daughter bought some and it went up and she thinks she's a genius. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, you shame your daughter in public like that. I don't ever want to work for you. But he said he would fire anyone who worked at JP Morgan for being stupid if they traded cryptocurrencies. But again, calling it a fraud is ridiculous because he didn't point out to any qualities of a fraud in Bitcoin at all. Now, at the end of the day, something is a currency if someone will accept it as payment for a good or a service. Now, what Jamie Dimon was saying is that there's guarantees by law that the U.S. dollar is a currency. Right, because the U.S. government will accept it in the payment of a debt. That's what a fiat currency is. It is not tagged anything, so it has no real value, but the government will accept it in payment of a tax debt, and that's what gives it its value. As long as someone is willing to exchange a government currency for Bitcoin, it is a currency, and it has value, and it's not fraud. And down the road, in some of Stafford's scenarios, if someone will exchange Bitcoin for the sandwich that they made with their slaughtered pig and their homemade bread, then it's still a currency, whether Jamie Dimon wants it to be or not. You know, if we break down really what a currency is, if Mike and I and Stafford wanted to exchange this podcast in exchange for free lunch at a listener's restaurant, we could do that. And this podcast would then become a currency, and his free lunch would become a currency to us. So it's ridiculous to call it a fraud. Most ridiculous one Ponzi scheme, fraud, just plain silly. And then you had what I would call respectable analysis from Mohammed Al-Arian, who made no such weird claims. He just said it's overvalued. He just said that the whole thing about cryptocurrencies in general and Bitcoin specifically is acceptance, and they have it priced at a much higher acceptance rate than it's going to achieve in the short term. So Al-Arian just said it's overdone. Dimon called it a fraud. Gandalf called it a Ponzi scheme. Those two are idiots, and Al-Arian just did analysis that you can disagree with if you'd like. There you have it.
So is buying and selling Magic the Gathering cards a pyramid scheme? Because I'm making good money on my Magic the Gathering cards.
You know, again, that is now currency. If someone would accept your Magic the Gathering cards in exchange for a shirt or some food or something that you would need, it's a currency. You don't even need to include currency, fiat government currency, to have a currency transaction. Currency is just something that's exchanged for something else, where the two parties agree that the other party's good is valuable. That's it.
Are you getting rid of your Black Lotus cards?
I've gotten rid of all the really, really expensive ones, like the dual land manta cards where you can switch. All the expensive ones have been sold. But, yeah, no, I no longer have a Black Lotus.
Oh, boy.
Wait, you were serious?
I was wondering if you were serious, Stafford.
How could you get rid of your Black Lotus cards? Back to Bitcoin news. China will stop all trading business on September 30th. Already one of the exchanges has notified that they're going to cease on September 30th. But then I saw this morning Chinese regulators give Huobi, Huobi, don't know if I pronounce it. I can say OK Coin 1 extra month to prepare closure. So they have until end of October, but you will not be able to trade cryptos against the yuan in China. We don't know if this is permanent or just until they get new regulations in place. You will still be able to mine Bitcoin in China, and you'll still be able to use it for a payment of goods. You just won't be able to trade it against the yuan.
Interesting.
So, and everybody's freaked out. We've covered this in our podcast, which,
No, this is our podcast.
I mean, we covered it on our YouTube.
Our YouTube channel.
Our YouTube channel, and we had a pretty big sell-off. We hit a low. We talked about that of 3,000 yesterday. It's now back up to 3,570 as this recording, testing the rotation zone on the 4-hour chart. But this was all, hey, if it got below this level, if it got below our key trend line, here's where we were expecting it to go, and it's gone there. What's funny, though, is even at its lowest yesterday, it was still trading above levels that it was trading back in June 5th. I actually think it needs to be shaken out.
All right.
Actually, I wanted your take on...
Gandalf?
No. I wanted your take on... well, let me just get through. We had some numbers come out. We had the PPI at 0.2%, expectations of 0.3%. The CPI beat at 1.9 versus expectations of 1.8. Retail sales missed, minus 0.2% versus expectations of 1% or 0.1%. Retail sales core came in at 0.2% versus expectations of 0.5%. Industrial production missed at minus 0.9%, expected 0.1%. That's due partially to Harvey, but even if you didn't have Harvey, industrial production would have missed by 0.3%. The GDP Now model just came out today and drops the third quarter GDP down to 2.2% from 3% September 8th. Any comments on that?
Yeah, the best thing for the Fed is that year-over-year 1.9% print on CPI. The rest of that stuff is really, again, in that sort of mode that we've been in of basically flat to slightly weak data, in my opinion. Best number for there is the Fed with the 1.9%, because they can go to that 1.9% and say, we're almost at our 2% target, so we can do this. It took until Wednesday or Thursday of this week before the CME Fed Watch tool actually had the probability of a rate hike in December above 50%. Last week when we were doing the podcast, not 1 month going out to mid-2018 had a rate hike in it any higher than 37.5%, 40%. But now the market's finally got it priced in to where it's like a 50, I believe it's like a 51 or 52% chance at this point now. They're going to hike in December. Fed keeps saying it. So the only piece of data that stuck out for me there as good for the Fed and them wanting to raise rates is that 1.9%.
Okay, perfect. And did you anything currency international? We had a lot of UK unemployment came out better. Bank of England kept the rates unchanged, and Carney said the possibility of rate hike has definitely increased.
Yeah, the pound is at a 14.5-month high versus the U.S. dollar. So while they left everything unchanged, they basically said we're going to need to raise, I'm paraphrasing, we're going to need to tighten monetary conditions in the coming month. And it's a clear attempt to jawbone the pound higher because their inflation is coming from a weak currency. It's not coming from wage pressures. Their last unemployment number was at a 2-year low. Actually, I'm sorry, a 42-year low. 4.4% in the UK. That's a 42-year low. And no wage pressures at all. None. So all of that inflation that they've seen in the pipe, they're above their 2.9% CPI. All of that comes from a weak currency. So they're trying to jawbone the currency, balance their CPI a little bit better, and then make a decision from there. And they're doing that by saying that there's a rate hike coming. They actually use the phrase coming months.
Did you see also this week now that Bank of Japan now holds 75% of the nation's ETFs?
It's unbelievable.
How are they going to unwind that without affecting the markets?
My question is, do they need to unwind it?
So what happens when they own 100%?
Then the people own the stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Then what? Well, that's where. So the simple answer to my question is, well, why would they need to unwind it? You just answered it by saying, what happens when they own 100%? Well, they need to unwind it. Because what do you do then? You can't buy anymore. There's no one in the public sector to buy them. So I guess they start buying all the foreign assets until they own 100% of all the assets in the world.
So is Bank of Japan going to eventually own everything?
You just need to short the yen because it's going to zero. The yen should be in going to zero corner.
Well, that would be very redundant. We just don't know when. By the way,
it's just a matter of time.
And France, Germany, Italy, and Spain seek tax on digital giants' revenues. They're going after Amazon and Google. They want currently such companies are often taxed on profits booked by subsidiaries in low tax countries like Ireland, even though the revenue originated from other EU companies, now, quote, we should no longer accept that these companies do business in Europe while paying minimal amounts of tax to our treasuries. The four ministers wrote in a letter seen by Reuters. They urged the Commission to come up with a solution creating an equalization tax. So they want it taxed on sort of where the transaction occurs rather than from where the company's located. Any thoughts on that?
They're idiots.
Their only solution is war with Ireland.
That's it. They're just idiots. It's just a money grab everywhere. By the way, have you guys noticed in the news and the discussion of things like tax cuts and everything, it has now gotten to the point where we're repeating the phrase, we just need to pay for it, or it just needs to be paid for. That is now accepted as truth. There is no longer any conversation from any side about cutting spending. None. Literally every conversation you hear is now just, well, we would love a tax cut as long as we pay for it.
Well, you're not listening to the Freedom Caucus, but beside the point.
There's a quote I'm looking for, so if I can find it real quick, because it kind of describes exactly what. Here we go. Thomas Sowell, who's one of my favorite people that ever lived. Some things are believed because they are demonstrably true, but many other things are believed simply because they have been asserted repeatedly. That describes the current. What's that?
Yep, that's a good quote.
Yeah, that describes the current climate in terms of tax cuts. I don't know how I got on this. Probably because it's a tax grab. Just everybody wants to grab everyone else's revenue, and just the fair thing is that the tax is charged where just a flat sales tax is the fairest thing, because tax is charged where the transaction happens and we're done with it. And the tax goes out, and that's that. And you guys spend what we have. So if you guys want to raise more money, if the government wants to raise more money, encourage consumption. Encourage economic growth so there's more consumption, so that the consumption tax increases the amount of revenues you have to spend. Solution, game over, we're done. Hello, Freedom Caucus.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic and walk away.
No, Mike, you're staying on this show. I'm sorry.
Hello, Freedom Caucus.
I wish we would go to just scrap the income tax and go to a national sales tax, because then there'd be no underground economy. It wouldn't matter. You know what? It's just all consumption.
The rich would always still pay more.
Yeah, the class that has discretionary income will buy status symbols, so the tax gets paid.
Yeah, and they'll pay that tax. And fine, make it graduated then. If something costs over $100,000, make the tax higher. Have no tax on milk. I get it. I get it. I get why people want a graduated or a descending tax, whichever way you want to call it. But income tax is just stupid.
No tax on my soda pop.
Still upset about that one.
Oh, I'm so pissed off about that.
It's
actually because I can't buy I buy unsweetened iced tea it has no sugar in it, and that falls under the sugar tax.
Well, I just heard a radio commercial where there was this mother going, "Have you ever seen an obese child?"
Oh God.
Yeah, and it was literally like, "We need this tax to save our children." It's like, how do they sleep? They have a mom doing that. And I'm yelling at my radio going, don't give your fat kid the soda.
Look, what? I got a bigger problem with this. It's not, there's a lot of stuff that has no sugar in it that still falls under the tax. So it's really not about that. Else they would only taxed things that had sugar in it.
Right. I mean, that was kind of my point of bringing up the commercial, right? Is that there's in no way, shape, or form is this about health.
It should be about high fructose corn syrup, full stop. That's the chemical. That's the problem.
Yeah, I still don't want the government to tell me what to chart.
Listen,
they just want to raise more money.
They want to make me wealthy, or if they want to make me healthy, here's what they do. Triple tax anything with sugar in it, and give me my water for free.
How about
have
they
the
just
sugar tax pay for the water? How about if every restaurant you went into, a bottle of water was free, but soda cost money?
How about this? Why don't you just tax all the people who don't go to the gym?
Thank you. Have you made your gym tax deduction today? For every hour you spend at the gym, you get a deduction.
Well, that would be great. You know,
Are you still going to that gym, Mike, where you pay for your membership by paying for their energy?
Well, it was actually the more you go, the less you pay.
Yeah.
This is classic. I really like the business model because if you went 26 times in a month, it was free. But then they changed
as a consumer, but it's a terrible business model.
No, it actually, because they realized that most people sign up for a membership, like and if you don't go at all, it's like $70. But most people, you know, sign up and then they don't go, so they were collecting a lot of money from a bunch of people, and then you have the idiots like me who go every day, who it's free. Well, then they changed their billing system. So they're like, we're going to take the average you've paid over the last 5 months, and that we have to charge you that every month, and then if you go the amount, you essentially get a rebate at the end of the year. So they said, how much have you paid over the last 5 months? They looked it up, and they're like, oh, you never pay. So they're like, you have a free lifetime membership now. You just don't. You don't even have to show up. It's a
great model for the consumer. It's a terrible model for the business. I really have to go.
Yeah, I know.
Just say for my why, it's happy birthday to me. Today's my birthday. I gotta go.
It's your birthday?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Your birthday day before my sister.
And
wow! Tell her I said happy birthday.
Your gift is going to be episode 89.
Perfect. My why is happy birthday to me. I'm not doing a why. Cheers.
My what is I didn't get Bob a gift.
See you later, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gannon ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them